Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. Wolves 3, Manchester United 4. United didn't make easy work of it, but we got there in the end thanks to the 18-year-old wonder kid from Stockport that is Mainoo. Joining me is Abdullah. Make sure you lot are getting involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think about that game, about that performance, about that result, what it means, all that good stuff. Before we get into all that though, make sure you are hitting the like button. Do you know what, Abdullah? Let's start from the end. Let's not go back to the beginning. Let's just start. Let's talk about what we want to talk about. Mainoo, because you were ready to go home. You were out the door. Maka was sulking. I was fuming. And then Mainoo, 18 years old. He'd had a great game like he'd been having anyway. I don't think he was the problem at all. He certainly wasn't any of the reason why we'd thrown away a lead. Picks up the ball, goes past players, and just superb finish just inside the box. Just a great goal from an 18-year-old. And I keep saying he's 18 because it's worth mentioning. He's just superb, isn't it? He is. It's just, I'm running out of adjectives to describe him, superlatives to describe him, because every time you watch him, you just think, this kid could go all the way to the absolute very, very top of football.
No, 100%. It just, first of all, that's the best player that's ever come out of Stockport.
100%. Well 100%. Said.
No one else can think.
No one comes near to him.
Second of all, this guy's a joke. Honestly, like, when I first watched him, I think at youth level, I always thought, oh, he's good, like taking the ball under pressure, you know, sort of getting out the opposition's way really well with the ball, keeps it well, but it's just that moment. I'm almost speechless.
I know I was about to say for the first time I think since I've met you, struggling to get your words out because I think
it says a lot about him.
So stunned by
that goal was honestly a joke, man. Like, obviously, once he beats his man there, we know he's got the quality. We see him do it deep in midfield at times, and then making the right decision. That's what's very, very impressive. Very, very impressive about Cobby. To be honest, I think no matter which area of the pitch he's in, he's so mature in the way that he plays. I feel like 9 times out of 10, he's making the right decision.
Yeah.
I think he plays Manchester United out of pressure a lot. Like I said, his ability on the ball really shines. And we've seen even some tackles here and there, and very well-timed tackles and interceptions and stuff. So he's such a fantastic player all around and very, very special talent. That goal is just something extra there, like, that we've not seen. Well, obviously, we've seen the Newport goal the other day, but to take control of that situation at that young age as a midfielder is an absolute joke. Like, we see that with young forwards who come on, the ball gets knocked in behind and things can happen, or you're in the box, but to do that from midfield, to beat your man, to have that composure, come inside and curl that into the bottom corner, like, absolutely outrageous finish. Buzzing with that, but yeah, my head was gone. Like I said, I was ready to walk out this room when that guy lost the ball.
Let's go back a little bit, because we'll get to Mainoo. Loads of people in the comments in the chat. Make sure you are hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel if you're not doing already. I will get to your comments as well. One set though. But first of all, like, we obviously got off to a great start. Marcus Rashford with a goal after about 5 minutes. You think, okay, this could be one of those days where things start to go right for us. Then Rasmus Højlund on about 25 minutes. You're thinking, great, 2-0 up. We're all over Wolves. We're having chance after chance. Beginning the second half, it's the same. Chance after chance after chance. Then I think I'm trying to get the pecking order of these goals right. Then they get a goal, don't they, to bring it to 2-1. Then McTominay's come on because Casemiro's on it. Oh, sorry, yeah, they get a penalty. That's right. Penalty was a penalty. Casemiro barely touches him, but in this day and age, A, the referee give it anyway, and B, VAR wouldn't overturn it. If the referee hadn't to give it, I think VAR might have found it anyway, if that makes sense. But they certainly weren't going to overturn it. They get a penalty. You're thinking, oh no, they're going to get back in it here. McTominay comes on, scores a goal, 3-1, happy days. And then Wolves get 2 goals in succession, 3-3. You think this is just a disaster.
That third goal was genuinely
that third goal, Luke Shaw on the left-hand side, plays it in hand. And he's got bodies around him, to be fair, but he dawdles and divers on it, doesn't he?
I know he's got bodies around him, but you need to be
either
aware.
Be stronger or...
But sorry, when we've made that substitution, like, I think one of you guys was talking about, he's going to keep possession, and it doesn't make any sense, because once he's on that pitch, the first opportunity he gets, if you remember, he's through on goal, and he takes the touch onto his right foot, then loses it when he's clean through on goal. For the majority of that half, in the second half, Marcus Rashford, the amount of times where, like, Bruno and a few of the other players, where the ball's there to play him, and then what he's done pretty well in the first half is he slowed it down with Luke Shaw then coming on the overlap or the underlap. And they've had that combination. And we've gone, and this goes down to the players, because that's worked out well for us in the first half. And we've not looked to capitalise on it, because Erik ten Hag's not gone in there at half time, and I've been very critical of the football we've played this season and stuff, but he's not gone in there at half time and said stop passing the ball on the left hand side and stop looking for that combination that's worked for you, because both goals essentially have come off that side, with Marcus Rashford and then obviously finding Luke Shaw who puts the ball back in for Højlund in the first half. So it just doesn't make any sense for me as to why when we start that second half is a lot of loose passes. We're not playing through the area where we were most dangerous. So that's the first thing from a player's perspective. Then the manager comes into it with those substitutions. Now, Scott McTominay made sense because Casemiro on thin ice, he's given away the penalty. He's already made 3 fouls in the game. We haven't got Amrabat or no one else to really drop into that midfield. He comes on, he scores a goal. We know how much of a threat he can be in the box. Fair enough. But that anti-substitution made absolutely no sense. For me, Garnacho, Rashford, Højlund in a lot of these games tends to, like, you could tell, like, he's really, like, because of the amount of pressing he does and the amount of energy he has throughout the game, you could tell that he does struggle sometimes towards the end of the games and he gets really tired. So, but Marcus Rashford or Garnacho have got to stay on that pitch for me over bringing Anthony on. I think they've got to stay on that pitch. It does not make any sense for me, and we genuinely nearly lost the game. I think even from a pure keeping the ball perspective, I thought Marcus Rashford was good at doing that in the first half. Anyways, I thought he was good in possession.
Do you know what? I gave Anthony a kiss of death because when he came on, I said, "Okay, at least he can keep possession," and he didn't.
It was you that said it.
It was me that said it because I thought usually that's the one thing you can get him.
The thing is, I've said this before, where they can kill games.
His finishing is what leaves lots to be desired. Yeah. And I thought, all right, at least he'll trap back. He does it does help out in defence, and he'll keep possession. He didn't. He got played in by Luke Shaw, and it wasn't much on. He had to give it back to him or try and find another man. He didn't do anything. He kept on it, and he kept hold of it, and then lost it. They counter. Also, as well, I think Onana looks a bit wobbly tonight.
He did.
I can't say they're all the goals are his fault or anything like that, but there just seems to be a little bit of, I don't know, almost clumsiness to him at times. There was times when he came out for the ball, I think Martinez had to clear it off the line.
Yeah.
He got rescued a couple of times.
There's a few shots in the first half that were at him, and then he almost looks like he's going to hold it, but then it bounces in front of him, then he holds it.
He just looks a bit ropey, for want of a better word, and I think his positioning isn't great as well. That goal, the Wolves' third goal,
that's a difficult one, man.
It's difficult.
The other ones I can
say, I just have an air of someone who just sort of seems to make life a little bit too easy for the attack sometimes. He doesn't need to. It's like his decision making isn't great. And I don't know, there is I still think there's a player there, and I just think he needs to chill out a little bit. He looks like he's got nervous energy. I know that's not easy when you're playing for Manchester United, but he's just, this is a keeper that got to the Champions League final last season and was very, very good on that run. And has been very good for Manchester United in certain games as well. Let's not forget that. We're going to go through some of the comments. Daniel Abraham says, keep calm and pass it to Mainoo. Great option. Great suggestion, sorry. Dash Mate says, Kobe has to be being a bit rude down, aren't we? Talking about he's only 18. Sam Z says, call me delusional. Mainoo's goal was Iniesta-esque. I don't think that's delusional at all. I think, Iniesta has Mainoo posters on his wall.
Never seen Iniesta
Sadhi Patel, super chat, nothing on it, but thank you. Mayor Amateur says, I heard that Rolls-Royce started a new model in their lineup. It's called the Mainoo. He's been a member for 10 months, says Mayor Amateur.
I'm watching that Neto go back, by the way, now. And he's done an Mbappe there, hasn't he? You know that finish that he does on the near post.
Jack says 21 shots and Højlund had 2 shots. Glad we won, but still some negatives. Jason Morphus says give Mainoo the keys to the city. Solo256 says Onana out. I think that's a bit harsh. Vinay Navneet says if Sancho doesn't want to be part of this, then screw him. Roshan Kamath says really having doubts on Onana. Have we got some quotes from Højlund here? Does anyone have the quotes? All right, thank you. We'll get some quotes that I think Højlund's given a post-match interview. And
Bruno said a bit as well.
Shortly. In fact, I've got some for you here now. Rasmus Højlund says, there's an old saying with strikers, when you get the first, they keep rolling in. Well, he has been scoring, hasn't he? People were saying about him in the Premier League, but he scored against Villa, he scored against Spurs, and now he scored against Wolves. Yeah. So I think there's 3 in his last Premier League starts. And
something that the comments and stuff haven't really highlighted, but I thought Omari Forson does really well there to hold off his man and then play the ball into Kobe. I know it's quite simple, but it's good to see him as well, just get that experience in a situation like that. I think it does a lot for his game. I don't know much about him, to be honest. Like, he played some pre-season games. He's come on off the bench a couple of times, but that was quite nice to see him involved in a moment like that. But again, going over the substitutions, like, for me, there is no excuse for Ahmad not to come in ahead of Anthony in these situations. Genuinely, like, what have we seen from Ahmad this season is the Forest game.
Yeah.
And we, as fans, I don't care. Well, obviously, we care about training, what goes on, and the gaffer's going to make the decisions based off the training, off what he sees in training. But ultimately, us as fans, as we watched that Forest game, we had issues getting into the opposition's box. We kept turning back. We were slow. He combined really well with Bruno, found loads of solutions, got into the area, and then we didn't see anything of him. Like, I get he had an injury, but for me, there is no excuse when it comes to purely making an impact in the game. He keeps the ball better than him as well.
Tonight I might look here and go, look, I spent a lot of money on this kid. I might not have been able to choose.
I don't give a shit about
I know. Let me finish.
People need to stop doing that.
No, because that's what he might think, though. I'm still. If you're the manager, you might be thinking, I spent 80 million quid on him.
But if you're the manager, you need to win a game of football.
But you keep saying you don't see why he's bringing him on, and I'm saying that might be a reason why he's doing it, because he spent a lot of money on. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's sorry. I'm saying personally.
You're saying you don't know.
No, I'm mad. I'm not saying this. I'm mad at that being a whole fault. I think that's a bad thought.
I agree. It is,
and that's my issue.
That might be his justification, because you're right. You don't see what goes on in training, and maybe it is in training. Anthony's mint. I don't know either, but it might be the case that it feels like he has to, and you have to get over that. You have to, like Pep did with Claudio Bravo. I talk about this all the time. Bravo came in as his guy, he replaced Joe Hart, and he was terrible. And what did Pep do?
Quite a few players, isn't it? Not just him,
He replaced him. He said, I've made a mistake with this, and brought in Edison. And I think that's why Eric Ten Hag needs to be strong, because you can't play someone just because you've paid money for him if they're not up to it. Because I agree with you, I don't rate Anthony.
Well, it's just very frustrating to see, because I felt in that situation when the substitution had happened, a lot of what we'd done that was good was coming off that left-hand side where, like, Rashford and Shaw would combine, and then we never played to that as a team. Yeah. And this is my issue with Manchester United. Like, the amount of times that this is the example under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. One of the things that killed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is him shoehorning Paul Pogba as a pure left winger. Now, he had some good performances, if you remember, in the Europa League against Roma and Milan and stuff like that, and scored. But ultimately, that ended up killing him. And every time things go well for us, and especially on that side of the pitch, is like, well, next week we're going to move Marcus Rashford to the right wing, or Luke Shaw becomes injured, and then, like, again we lose that side of it, and it gets frustrating, obviously. But when them two get going together, that is a lethal partnership for Manchester United. And I think, in my opinion, it's not something that gets highlighted enough from us as fans, and people don't focus on it enough. And I think today, the substitution with Anthony there really killed the flow of the game.
I mean, in the end it worked alright, but I was surprised he took Garnacho off as well, right at the end. Because he had a lot of possession and was getting him behind. And you
still looked like he had energy, innit?
Yeah, counter-attack. You see that throwing, even the throwing that he won, it was from him battling and keeping going. So I was a little bit sport. Though
it's just things that we want cleaned out.
And made a good run, actually, for when Mainoo got his goal, to be fair to the kid. Tyler Triminal agrees with you. Why is Diallo not playing? VNet Navni says the number of chances we're missing is still staggering. Kazmofo says he's been a member of the academy, I think the first team, for 11 months, says United keep blowing leads, never capitalising their gameplay, so many chances yet never really clinical, baby steps unfortunately. Johnny D says, I like Onana, but he needs to learn how to dive, he just watches the ball go past him even if he's slightly off balance, so annoying. Mohammed Abdul Rahman says, hope Ten Hag learns before Anthony costs him his job. He's an agony to watch. Don't know if he can ever be that of Ajax, but now he's tortured. A lot of people as well, like, criticising Onana. A lot of people, questioning Anthony, like you. Feral pleasures. Cheer up, lads. A win's a win. Kieran C says, McTominay's top scorer should get a nice prize for him in the summer. Be interesting to see what happens on that front. Hail to the Geek says, how bad was that pen call? Joke. Shades of the Copenhagen game. Feel like refs keep trying to make a game of it. Yeah, I said, like, if there's contact, the ref's going to give it. But a lot of people in the chat were saying it wasn't a pen. Did you think it was? I know we did the watch along.
Do you know what? Like, if Adam got it spot on. Like, if it happens to your team in that moment, you're like, yeah, you want that pen. But ultimately, we can only go off what we've seen week in, week out as Manchester United fans. And there is always a moment that you can compare. Throughout the season, I could be wrong, but how many of them have we had? Garnacho's handball, you go to Garnacho on Romero, you go to Arsenal a couple of weeks later, same situation. Højlund getting taken out, rugby tackled in Arsenal's box. The list goes on, and then the Rodri moment, you compare it with that.
Oh, God,
Last night, we watched Liverpool with Van Dijk, a much clearer situation. That wasn't just a brush yesterday with Van Dijk. This one, you almost had to slow it down to make sure there was a touch on Pedro Neto before he exaggerated and went down. But fair enough, once he feels a touch, he's going to go down, he's going to want the penalty. I'd want my player to do the same. But we can only go off them situations, and I think, rightly so, people are going to be frustrated, especially when you see that idiot, Paul Turney, in the VAR room, when he was at that, refereeing that game yesterday at Liverpool, and seeing those moments that weren't giving us pens. So when you compare that, that's the same referee that was in that game. Whether he was in a VAR room or whether he was on the pitch yesterday, he was involved in that decision, and he would have reviewed that decision, would have watched it back, and would have known what would have happened. And that didn't get given as a penalty. Conor Gallagher yesterday, was it on Van Dijk on him? I missed the second one that everyone was talking about with Liverpool, so I can't comment on that. But for me, that was a clear penalty yesterday. And that's the same ref involved. And that's it. It's just the consistency. And I get people will say every team's getting done by it. But ultimately, as fans, these are moments that we are always comparing every week. And we've not really had the rubber agreeing with the referees. You can't say we have.
No, I do agree with that. I mean, the City game, we was at the game. No one even knew. You know, when it got called to VAR, no one was going, oh, that's because...
I was looking the other way.
People were on the phones trying to get a replay because no one could understand what was... The players didn't seem to know. None of the fans knew. And then you saw it called back. Then, like you mentioned, Højlund went through, nothing. Arsenal, Højlund again gets brought down by Gabriel. Nothing. I mean, we've had quite a few decisions this season where you look at it and you go... Even like ones where, VAR's got involved, like the one where it goes out against Brighton. I mean, and then you watch the one against Newcastle and Arsenal. It's the same thing. It's just exactly the
the Brighton one was even the angle
Newcastle
that they
against
see.
Arsenal, sorry.
The one with Marcus Rashford to Højlund against Brighton changes the whole game for us. Like,
it does feel a little bit.
The amount of
like
game-changing moments has been insane.
Yeah, no, there's not been any consistency. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. Abdullah, thanks so much. Where can people find you?
AbdulJH_ on Twitter.
You know where to find me as well. If you're not doing already, please subscribe to the channel. I want to get to 400, what am I on about? 750,000 subscribers by the end of the season. And with your support, you can do it. We're going to be back. We're going to be hearing from, I think we're going to hear from Stephen House and Andy Tate as well. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of that. Manchester United beating Wolves 4-3. We didn't make easy work of it, but that boy from Stockport, Mainoo, absolutely fantastic. Thanks for watching.